Welcome to the Dromai Dech for Worlds 2023 for World Championship Barcelona. So in just a few days, tomorrow I fly for Barcelona, and I want to record this deck before I actually go and play to Worlds Barcelona. So apparently I'm going to play Dromai, and this is the deck I came up with another member of Fab Chaos, Giannis Kouris, also known as Sly Knight. So this is the deck we are going to present at the World Championship, and this is the deck we have been working for the past few months in order to play in the World Championship. So the main inspiration of the deck is the Hayden's Dale list from 2023 that was actually performing pretty well after the whole printing of the tomes and stuff. So the main idea is that we identified pretty early in this format that Dromai is going to be a powerhouse in the new format with Lexi going. So we started doing the reps and testing pretty early in the new meta game, even before the actual Lexi bannings, but we tried to adapt as much as possible to what the new meta is going to look like. I have no idea what the meta game in Worlds will be exactly like, but I'm expecting a lot of Bravo, I'm expecting a lot of Azalea, I'm expecting a lot of Islander, and I'm expecting a lot of Fi. And the fifth deck may be DAS or something like that, either IO or the original. So the main focus of this deck is to actually play the control version of the Dromai deck while maintaining the aggressive plan pretty active. And the whole reason you can actually perform that is Tome of Imperial Flame. The main focus of the deck, of course, is Tome of the Imperial Flame, but the deck is so powerful that it actually allows you to, with a single card, to do the complete pivot from the aggressive deck or the defensive one. We have no other headpicks because we are planning on using Crown of Dominion into every single matchup. The deck is so much built around the tome where you actually want to do that. And that's pretty much the powerhouse that we wanted to go with Snapdragon Scalers and Snatch, because that's a main point of actually role-playing the more Empress aggressive list in order to make your aggressive matchups better. So a quick check-in about the gear. Obviously Crown of Dominion everywhere, so goes with Flamescale Furnace, Snapdragon Scalers into every single matchup, and Wave of Reality and Silken Form as the only two different arms equipment. So quick note, until recently, almost 2 days ago, we just had Null Rune gloves in this slot, but after a bit of testing, and because we are not expecting a lot of rune blades, Silken Form feels like a better arcane barrier because it actually generates an Ashwing. I really hope that won't kill me during the next few days in the World Championship, but that's the call we've decided to go. Also, Silken Form is slightly better in the mirror match. That's why we wanted to include this card rather than just run the Null Rune barrier and the Null Rune gloves, because Wave of Reality in the mirror match is a bit of Another big note, obviously, if you have been following the Dromai metagame, is that we are not running any copy of Ghostly Touch or Time Snap Potion. The main reason of that is because of the new card that got out in Bright Lights, the Dust from the Chrome Caverns. You can have a game plan into a fatigue controlling deck, meaning Bravo mostly, without including so many cards. So how you want to use this card is you want to develop a board and play a Dust from the Chrome Caverns, and at some point while you have a board, play a Miragai, attack with a Dragon without Phantasm, play a Chromai on that, attack again, get a second action point, and keep pressuring their life totals because you have so many ways of getting go again. We have Sweeping Blow, we have Ravenous Rabble, we have E-Strike, we have all these ways to constantly pressure their life totals so they can no longer, just try to kill everything every turn. They do not have the life total to do that. Another big note compared to some other cards is the fact that we are running 3 copies of Billowing Mirage. And in order to cut the final numbers of this card, we actually reduced the numbers of Necria. So there are 2 points I want to make here. First of all, Necria is a great dragon. It's really powerful. I mean, getting the extra ass, getting the extra stats on the board is really relevant. The only problem is that in most matchups, in the most aggressive matchups, most of the time you play like a red line deck. So you do not have many blues, or you do not have extra cards to pitch for Necria. And that makes her almost feel like one of the big dragons, like Tumultai or Dominion. So that's why we did not want any extra copies. Also, the biggest argument about Necria was that she's powerful in the mirror, because she has the 4/7 stat line, technically for 6, and she will kill another dragon, or he will generate an ass, and it's powerful. It's not that relevant, first of all, because in the mirror match, you want either dragons that get dealt easily with Rake the Embers, or you want dragons that need a 6 power card to die. And Necria can die to both of these lines. Most of the time in the mirror match, at some point, the ass will not be relevant, and the main reason for that is Tome of the Imperial Flame, because you are looking to play a lot of copies of Tome of Imperial Flame in the mirror match. So most of the time, mass generation is not really a problem, and because a lot of times during the first cycle you pitch the Rake the Embers, so you will not have a card that requires a lot of us to operate, like Rake the Embers. So that's another reason why in our testing it felt like we didn't need that much us in order to work with. That's why we decided to go down with the Necrias. While Billowing Mirage is great in the mirror match, even though it doesn't seem like it. It's great into Guardian, again, even though it doesn't seem like it, because it's an attack that the opponent probably will take some damage that generates an ass swing, and you want to swing with ass swings a lot. You don't want to sacrifice real dragons to Bravos poppers or anything. And because we have cutted the Nulun, also having another card that generates ass swing if for some reason you play versus a Runeblade or something, it's great to have access to another card that can generate your Arcane Barrier. So the rest of the stuff are pretty obvious. I think 1 copy of Burn Them All makes the most sense, because you really want to cut down this deck in order to feel like a real aggressive deck. That's how you beat ninjas, and that's how you beat most aggressive strategies, because you can actually play an aggressive plan with a lot of card advantage, with Snatch, or with a lot of or Kyloria, or with a lot of high value cards like attacking with Dromai, getting a second action point, playing a Dust Up that will generate an Aswing, and you also attack with the Aswing. And I mean, you can. And while developing a board, it's pretty hard for most decks to deal with that, so you want the best numbers out of each card. The first copy of Burn Them All, especially if you know that you do not have another copy, is guaranteed to deal at least 4 to 5 damage. And running a card that's 0 for 4, maybe 5 with Go Again, the numbers are just way off the chart. The problem is that the second copy is not guaranteed to deal that much damage. Most of the time it will. Most of the time the second copy of Burn Them All will probably deal 3 points of damage, but we did not want the chance of this missing. That's why we only are going with a 1 copy of Burn Them All. So, E-Strike, I love this card. Honestly, I think E-Strike in this type of Dromai is probably one of the best cards you have access to. Most of the time this card is 5 with draw a card, and you get that insane value because your cards are actually pretty higher value even than 3. The easy counting of this card is to consider that as being a 2 cards for 8, but most of the time it's even more. Imagine doing 5 Go Again and drawing a D-React. Imagine getting, a 5 go again and getting a Dromai. The Dromai will generate way more value than just 3 points, or than just what's the average number of another deck's numbers, most of the time. So, and also it's a great extender into the Guardian matchup as well. A lot of times when you develop a board that Bravo needs to deal with, and you can actually get a 5-card hand, even if you just play some dragons, you can then just go E-Strike for 7, or if you want to force them to pop some dragons, you can even go 5 go again and start attacking with some dragons in order to force some interaction. An insane card. Miraging Metamorph, I'm not super excited about this card, but I know you need this card to make the Ninja matchup better. So if I was sure that ninjas are not going to be a big part of the metagame in Barcelona, we would probably have cut this card. I mean, it's not relevant into the Guardians, it's not so relevant into the Rangers. I mean, it's but you need the 1-for-7 value versus the aggressive strategies. That's why you need to run this card. So 2 copies of Sigil. Again, the biggest part here is that we are not expecting a huge number of Islanders. We are not expecting Islander to be the second most popular deck. And because of that, we also expect a huge amount of Bravo, of Guardian players. And into Ninjas and Guardians, actually blocking for 3 is better than just gaining 3 life and activating the board. So that's the reason we decided to go down to 2 Sigil of Solas. 2 Sweeping Blow, I think because we are a bit dry on the Necrias and we also increased the copies of Billowing Mirage to 3, we really need the Sweeping Blows. We really need that. So 2 copies of Centipede, 2 copies of Pursuit and Passing Mirage. So about Pursuit, we really needed a card that helps in the mirror match. I mean, we are expecting Dromai to probably be the most popular deck, and having any kind of edge in the mirror match feels pretty important. So we found out in our testing that Dromai mirror is a pretty tempo relevant, tempo matters game, so whoever overwhelms the opponent and starts dealing damage, most of the time will be also the first that starts threatening lethal. And when you get to this point and the opponent needs to start using cards to block or they die, most of the time you win that game. And Pursuit of Knowledge is one of those few cards that can actually help you swing the board. So you have a small board, they play a lot of stuff, they kill your things, you take some damage, and then you do a Tome of Imperial Flame into deal with some of their things and the Pursuit of Knowledge to the final dragon, and you get another 5-card hand. So and also we needed the 4th blue in the mirror match, because a lot of times you play the Centipies in order to kill some dragons and generate some mass. So we needed a 4th blue in the mirror match, because a lot of times we were stuck with 7-card decks with just a single Tumultai or a single Dominia or a single Necro, and we could not actually play that card, which was pretty bad. So that's also with the blues and the Pursuit of Knowledge. Passing Mirage I think is an auto-include. Also, there has been a hype with Rhinar also. That's why I would never consider cutting Passing Mirage at the moment from Dromai, because it also helps a lot with these rock decks and also helps a lot with decks that decided to target you by putting a bunch of 6-power cards in their deck. So Dust from the Chrome Caverns is pretty obvious. 2 copies of Sand Cover. Again, the main reason here is that Sand Cover versus Ninjas most of the time is a 7th sink below, a 7th, 8th card that's 0/4/4 that prevents. Has some minor upsides and some minor downsides, because sometimes you're dry with Ash, but also a lot of times it's great, for instance, versus the Rinthia, that you actually block without getting a reprise. Pretty great card. I would not add more copies because the Ass generation is pretty on the edge. And we added one Oasis Respite because actually the matchup into Azalea and Bravo are pretty hard, and the game plan for both of these decks are to kill you with Dominate. At least in our testing, both Azalea and Bravo will try to kill you by dominating a bunch of attacks and with presenting the most amount of damage every turn until you develop the relevant dragons, which are Dromai and Miragai and Pass Mirage. So having an extra card that can actually block from hand a Crippling Crush Dominated, or a Tyria Sander with Anathos, or a Red in the Ledger with a buff, an 8 power Red in the Ledger, to actually be able to prevent that without having an arsenal is enough most of the time. Just this happening once is enough to win you the game. And we did not want the third sand cover for all the reasons we explained about us, and also you don't mind Oasis in the slower matchup. It also has a minor upside into Highlander, but I think even if Highlander was not legal, we would still run Oasis Respite over the third sand cover. So, 2 copies of Cadaverous Contraband. This card is an MVP in the mirror match, but you cannot really afford, at least we could not fit a third copy of this card. And the one card we wanted to add, we decided to go with the one Pursuit of Knowledge, with a second Pursuit of Knowledge, rather than the third Cadaverous Contraband. So, we will go into the sideboards in a minute, but the only matchup that this card is actually relevant is the mirror match. And the reason for that is because it's a 6 power card that gives you some minor protection. It's a good target for Remembrance also. And most of the time, it will help you keep up the pace of the game by killing an enemy dragon and putting a Tome of Imperial Flame on top of the deck. So that's the line we found out in our internal testing, that killing an opponent's dragon and getting a Tome for next turn to be ready to deal with the board the opponent is going to create actually is how you can keep up and never get overwhelmed if you get a bad hand or a hand that does not have the correct answers to deal with the opponent's board. So that's pretty much it. We also have the matchups here, you guys. I will be posting the list down. You can check out everything. I do not have the equipment because it's pretty obvious. In whichever matchup you would like an Arcane Barrier, you just add the Silken form. Anything else just has the Wave of Reality. So I feel pretty confident about the testing we prepared. It was the first time I actually prepare a deck with a teammate, and I have the same, I'm going to run the same deck list with another person, and that's pretty interesting, a pretty interesting experience. And I think I'm actually quite happy. We could still test out a few more matchups, but just like a lot of things, you never feel ready when you go to a big event like this. You can never actually feel ready, and it's pretty important to realize that we've done all the work we could. And let's find out. I really hope that we actually perform. We'll see. So, guys, I hope you had a great time in Barcelona. If you did not participate, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the World Championship Barcelona. I really hope we performed at the event. And thanks a lot for dropping by. I'll see you around. Bye.